the DEA seized 11.5 kilos of fentanyl, including an astounding approximately 3 million fentanyl pills, the largest seizure in our nation's history.
A variety of deadly pills and trap doors to keep the stash a secret. It was all part of a multi-million-dollar drug bust that went down inside a Manhattan residential building, and neighbors say they had no idea.
ICE stormed a massive highway network empire with shocking details. 269 pounds of illegal fentanyl hidden in a commercial truck in Washington. What looked like an ordinary delivery was actually a deadly shipment capable of killing millions. This exposed a national crisis, showing how cartels weaponize the very highways we rely on every day. The stop looked routine. A truck pulled over near the Washington border. Agents had done this thousands of times. Same questions, same clipboard, same polite driver waiting to be waved through. But the moment the back door swung open, everything changed. Nothing inside looked ordinary anymore. Yes, 269 pounds of fentanyl. That's enough to deliver 6.9 million lethal doses. Enough to wipe out every man, woman, and child in Seattle, Tacoma, and Spokane combined. And it was moving down the highway like any ordinary shipment, invisible to the unsuspecting eye.
The head of this organization, Sinaloa organization, here in the country illegally, 6 of these guys and women here in the country illegally. His name is Alberto Salazar Amaya.
The driver, Isabel Varial Zapian, was 44, no criminal record, no tattoos, no cartel flags, just a professional long-haul trucker who looked like she could deliver groceries to your doorstep. Her paperwork was clean, her route was approved, her truck was inspected. Everything screamed normal, everything except the 269 pounds of fentanyl hidden beneath pallets of everyday goods. DEA agents called it a stomach-dropping bust, not for what they found, but for what it meant. If a truck this ordinary could move that much poison unnoticed, then how many others were already rolling down the interstate? How many smiling drivers, waving through checkpoints, were secretly transporting death? At first, investigators thought it might be luck. One rogue driver, one bad shipment, maybe a rare mistake, but then the shockwaves hit. 1,000 miles away in Richland County, South Carolina, deputies stumbled onto 156 pounds of fentanyl hidden inside a suburban home. Just a few miles awkward from the University of South Carolina campus, enough to kill the entire state's population 7 times over. 2 busts, 2 coasts, same drug, same signature, behind both, the fingerprints of the Sinaloa cartel. And suddenly, it wasn't coincidence. It was a system, a vast national infrastructure weaponized. For decades, the war on drugs focused on borders, tunnels, boats, checkpoints, and couriers. But this wasn't smuggling anymore. This was an infiltration of the arteries of America. The commercial highway network, the lifeblood of trade, had been hijacked. Every semi, every freight terminal, every way station became a potential battlefield in a war most Americans didn't even know existed. Federal investigators started connecting the dots. Freight companies that were real on paper, licensed, insured, and tax registered, but secretly built by the cartel. Manifests were flawless. Drivers were recruited not for loyalty, but for their ability to blend in. Background checks came up perfect. Even law enforcement software couldn't flag it. It was brilliant and terrifying. These trucks weren't sneaking through deserts anymore. They were riding the same roads you take to work, passing schools, passing playgrounds, passing families who never suspected that inside those steel walls lay millions of lethal doses. And here's the chilling part. This wasn't an isolated threat. It was proof that the cartels had learned to weaponize trust. They didn't hide in shadows, they hid in plain sight. Legal shipments became cover, legitimate drivers became camouflaged. And the next truck, you won't know it's carrying death until it's too late. Every mile, every checkpoint, every way station was suddenly a test of vigilance. The very system Americans trusted to keep them safe had become the enemy's playground. And the most terrifying question of all lingered in every investigator's mind. How many trucks were still out there, undetected, moving poison toward unsuspecting cities? As the investigation traced shipments between Washington and South Carolina, a map began to form like veins across the country. The I-5 corridor in the west, the I-95 in the east, 2 arteries pumping life through America and poison through its bloodstream. Officials described it as discovering an empire in motion. Each bust wasn't a victory, it was a reminder of how close we were to catastrophe, because fentanyl isn't like other drugs. One touch, one breath, one grain, and a life gone. And these trucks weren't carrying ounces, hundreds of pounds. The Washington seizure alone could have wiped out the Northwest. The South Carolina stash could have erased an entire state. And these are just the shipments that were caught. How many made it through? How many trucks passed undetected while carrying enough poison to level cities without a single bullet fired? Those questions keep investigators awake at night, because if cartels can manipulate logistics this precisely, they can infiltrate anything: freight, agriculture, construction, even medical supplies. Borders don't matter anymore. The cartels rent the lanes. America has long trusted highways as symbols of progress, connecting towns to big dreams. Today, those same roads are silent battlegrounds. Every semi that hums past could carry diapers, electronic, or enough fentanyl to end a city. And that's not paranoia, that's the new reality. The agents who opened Isabel's trailer didn't just find drugs, they found a warning, a flashing signal across every interstate. The system we trust has been breached, and the next truck won't look any different. Same logos, same paperwork, same calm driver with a coffee in hand. The only difference is what's behind that steel door and whether anyone opens it in time. As one investigator said, the enemy isn't crossing our borders anymore. They're driving right beside us. Americans trust the trucking industry. Drivers move food, medicine, and packages from coast to coast. Licenses are checked, trucks are inspected, weigh stations. Enforce the rules. Everything looks secure, but that comfort is exactly what makes this dangerous. Washington wasn't an isolated incident. It was a window into something far larger, quietly thriving in plain sight. The system wasn't failing, it was being hijacked, and the very trust Americans placed in it had been weaponized against them. This is where the story of the Banuelos brothers begins. Rosario Abulain, Camaro Banuelos, and Francisco Fernando Camaro Banuelos, operating from Sinaloa, Mexico, didn't just want to move drugs across the border. That would have been too obvious, too easy to catch. Instead, they engineered a shadow fleet. Trucks with real registrations, freight companies with legitimate insurance, drivers with spotless records. Everything looked legitimate, but beneath the surface, every detail hid millions of lethal doses of fentanyl. Every mile of I-5 from Mexico to Canada wasn't just asphalt, it was a conveyor belt for poison. And the genius, the horrifying brilliance, wasn't in the trucks or the paperwork. It was the people behind the wheel. The cartel didn't want criminals, they wanted ordinary Americans. Single moms delivering groceries, retired veterans hauling construction materials, small business contractors running their daily routes. All the right faces, all the right papers, all unsuspecting. Take Isabel Zapian. Clean record, legitimate routes, years of experience, but behind the wheel, she was unknowingly part of a highway empire built to kill. One small mistake, one misstep, and thousands of lives could have vanished in an instant, and she wasn't alone. The scale is staggering. Hundreds of trucks, verified licenses, flawless manifests, drivers who fit in perfectly. Every mile, every stop, every delivery became a calculated risk, hiding lethal cargo. The highways Americans trust, the same roads families drive every day, had quietly become a battlefield. And here's the part that chills agents to the bone. This network didn't need to break the rules. It exploited them. Inspections, licensing, weigh stations, all became camouflage. Every checkpoint, every signature, every paper trail gave the illusion of security while thousands of lethal doses moved silently across the country. Federal agents called it chilling. This wasn't a story about a few bad actors. It was a new reality. Cartels no longer smuggled drugs. They engineer entire networks within legitimate infrastructure, blending deception, psychology, and logistics on a scale most Americans can barely imagine. And now, the terrifying question. If one driver like Isabel could be recruited without raising suspicion, how many others are already on the roads right now? How many trucks have passed unnoticed, carrying enough fentanyl to wipe out entire cities before anyone even opens the trailer door? That question hangs over America's highways like a storm cloud, heavy, inevitable, and impossible to ignore. And the worst part? There's no flashing sign to warn you, no siren to sound. Just the hum of tires on asphalt and the knowledge that any mile could be a brush with catastrophe. This isn't about isolated incidents, it's about trust weaponized and ordinary people unknowingly playing a role in mass destruction. Each leg of the highway now carries weight beyond the freight it's moving. Every truck is a potential vector for a catastrophe. The Banuelos brothers turned America's most trusted network into their empire. Every manifest, every mile, every driver, a part of a machine that could move death as easily as boxes. And most Americans will never see it coming. So when you drive past a truck on I-5, it's no longer just commerce. It's a reminder, the highways are a front line. Until the network is fully exposed and dismantled, every mile could be another brush with disaster waiting to happen. The DEA called the case transformative to national security. Cartels had infiltrated domestic infrastructure, yet federal coordination showed resilience. Every agent, analyst, and inspector became part of a new army silently fighting on a battlefield most Americans will never see. The lesson is clear. Highways were once safe, commerce was clean, systems worked, not anymore. Safety relies on vigilance, intelligence, and cooperation, not assumption. Roads now reflect both our trust and our vulnerability. The highway empire isn't just a story about cartels, it's a test of national character. Can trust survive infiltration? Can systems evolve to meet threats they were never designed to face? Like this video and subscribe to the channel to get more updates.